I've said previously, the Prenatal to 3 State Policy Roadmap identifies the most effective policies and strategies that states can implement to empower parents and support the healthy development of infants and toddlers. And although I strongly stand by the comprehensive reviews that we've conducted to determine which policies are the most effective to date, I also recognize that there are limits to the evidence base. States are doing many innovative things that have not been rigorously studied, and they need to be. So we're constantly reviewing the evidence base to learn more about what works, and importantly, if the policy works equally well for all race and ethnic groups, or if it helps to close the persistent disparities in opportunities and outcomes. My colleague, Dr. Abby Lane, who leads our clearinghouse team, has joined us to share more about the work that they are doing to build the evidence base.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm Abby Lane, and I lead our clearinghouse team at the Prenatal to 3 Policy Impact Center. Our policy clearinghouse aims to serve as a resource that policy leaders, scholars, advocates, and funders can turn to for comprehensive reviews of the evidence on state policies and strategies that aim to strengthen outcomes for infants, toddlers, and their families. Our team of policy analysts conducts comprehensive, systematic reviews of the evidence to identify what we know and need to know about state policies and strategies and their demonstrated effectiveness at creating the conditions in which young children and their families can thrive. Our state policy roadmap tracks state progress on the 11 most effective policies and strategies that we have identified to date. However, a major aspect of our work is building the evidence base, and as we continuously review more evidence, our goal is to add more policies and strategies to the roadmap that improve the well-being of infants, toddlers, and their family. We know that states are currently implementing innovative policy solutions to improve conditions for families during the prenatal to 3 period. Many of these policy solutions have strong theories of change, and we are looking for more opportunities to understand the innovative approaches that states are using, how these policies are implemented, and learn what rigorous evaluations can tell us about their short and long-term effectiveness. Beyond the 11 policies and strategies included in the roadmap, our clearinghouse also includes reviews of policies and strategies that need further study. Although some of these policies may be promising, these policies aren't yet on our roadmap because the evidence is insufficient. They have not been studied in the prenatal to 3 population or have not yet been rigorously evaluated. We plan to continue to review new policies to learn more about what the evidence can tell us about their effectiveness so far. We have a long list of policies to watch, policies that we think may have the potential to effectively improve the lives of infants, toddlers, and their families. But we need more rigorous evidence before these policies can be added to our roadmap. Earlier this year, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 included a temporary expansion to the federal child tax credit that makes the credit more closely resemble a universal child allowance due to the ability of parents to receive monthly payments and because over 90% of children in the country are now eligible. Although this credit is a federal program, evidence from the study of state-earned income tax credits tells us that states matter, both for the way states can help individuals access federal credits they are eligible for, and in building on federal tax credits by introducing complementary state-level credits. As the rollout of the expanded child tax credit continues, we hope to learn more about how states can help eligible people access the credit and better understand its impacts on prenatal to 3 outcomes. Another policy to watch is the use of baby bonds, or a policy where every child covered within set eligibility guidelines receives a publicly funded trust account with a certain amount invested at birth. Over time, the fund grows in values, and when the child transitions into adulthood, they can access the fund, typically for education, to purchase a home, to start a business, or to save for retirement. This year, Connecticut began to implement the first statewide baby bond program, automatically enrolling children whose births were covered by the state Medicaid plan. Other smaller communities have implemented baby bonds as well, and we are excited to learn more about the short-term effects of the program, such as how families change behavior knowing children have savings, and longer-term impacts in the years and decades to come, including any reductions in the racial wealth gap. We are also monitoring state-level policies that affect parents' ability to work. Research shows that unpredictable work schedules are associated with financial instability, reduced physical and mental well-being, less time spent with children, and difficulty securing consistent, high-quality childcare among working parents. To reduce difficulties associated with unpredictable work schedules, recently enacted policies at the state and local levels have aimed to promote fair work scheduling among hourly employees by requiring advance notice of schedules, allowing employee requests for schedule flexibility without repercussions, and requiring guaranteed pay for hours on call. Recent rigorous research out of Seattle is promising, but further research is needed to understand what aspects of fair work scheduling are most effective for improving outcomes for workers and their families, especially at the state level. Another area we are watching is state-level action on housing policy. Although much of housing policy is determined at the federal or local level, there are still ways states can impact the stability of housing, which is critical for the well-being of infants, toddlers, and their caregivers. We are working to better understand what states can do in this area, particularly around reducing evictions, such as the right to counsel. In addition to building the evidence base on policies not yet on the roadmap, there are also state-level changes happening now that can tell us more about our existing effective policies. For example, as of October 1st, 7 states have a program in place or have passed legislation to enact 12 weeks of paid family leave to be available in the coming years. The current evidence base draws largely on evidence from policies providing only 6 weeks of paid leave. Similarly, many studies demonstrating beneficial impacts of higher state minimum wages have examined minimum wages up to the $10 per hour level, but many states will have implemented minimum wages of at least $15 per hour by 2026, based on scheduled increases in current legislation. As states implement more generous policies, such as with paid family leave and state minimum wage, we can learn more about the effectiveness of these policies at different levels and in different contexts to better understand the thresholds necessary to maximize benefits to families while minimizing any potential negative effects of these policies. States also have policy leverage to affect how easily parents can access federal nutrition benefits, which has implications for families' ability to access needed services and promote physical health and well-being. For example, similar to the choices that states can make to reduce administrative burden for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, as covered in our roadmap, states can also make policy choices that affect families' ability to access the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children, commonly known as WIC. States can streamline and improve eligibility determination by improving coordination between programs and make choices like allowing full-year certification and the acceptance of electronic documents to make the application process easier for families. States can also make policy choices that improve the cultural inclusivity of WIC, modernize technology, and leverage community partners to improve program awareness and nutrition education. States are also increasingly supporting doulas as a way to provide physical, emotional, and educational support to parents before, during, and immediately following childbirth. Doulas may be particularly important for pregnant people of color, who have greater odds of adverse birth outcomes. Doulas provide patient advocacy during labor, which should reduce the likelihood of miscommunication or biases affecting the quality of medical care a patient receives. States can expand patients' access to doula services through Medicaid funding, but currently only a handful of states allow Medicaid to reimburse for doula care, and these states reimburse at different levels. Observational studies to date have found positive impacts of doulas on birth outcomes. However, to better understand these impacts and how best to implement doula support at the state level, more rigorous research is needed. Also affecting well-being in the perinatal period is access to health insurance. Medicaid coverage for pregnant people typically only lasts through 60 days postpartum. In the past year, 25 states have taken action to extend the postpartum coverage period through either a new provision in the American Rescue Plan Act, a Section 1115 waiver request, and/or with state funds. We are watching for rigorous studies to understand the impacts of continuous healthcare coverage during the perinatal period on access to healthcare and indicators of parent and child well-being. Over the last few years, another area that has often gotten more attention and state investment is state support of infant mental health specialists. Existing research into coaching and early childhood mental health has often focused on 3- and 4-year-olds. But as the early childhood mental health field continues to grow and include more services for infants and toddlers, we are watching for more rigorous studies analyzing the most effective programs to improve infant mental health. Critical to this research will be better understanding the most effective way for states to support infant mental health work, such as through statewide positions or offices dedicated to infant mental health, or through grant or Medicaid funding to support new and existing programs and services. With the infusion of significant funding to support early care and education during the pandemic, we also have an opportunity and an obligation to learn more about the effectiveness of state policies in the childcare field as states make changes to childcare subsidy programs, such as changing income eligibility thresholds, increasing provider reimbursement rates to cover a greater share of the true cost of providing care, and reducing or eliminating co-payments for families. We need to know more about what works to improve affordability, accessibility, and the quality of childcare for families. To better support our workforce, we also need to understand how funds, either through the American Rescue Plan Act or other state-level funding, can be used to boost the pay and improve the well-being of the individuals who do the incredibly important work of providing a nurturing and safe environment for our children while not in the care of their parents. What I've described is just a few of the policies we are watching, looking for state innovation in these areas and research to teach us more about the causal impacts of these policies and how they can create the conditions infants, toddlers, and their families need to thrive. We are also looking to learn more about the cost effectiveness and return on investment of these strategies to better understand the full impacts of these policies. We are also critically in need of research that demonstrates if and how our roadmap policies and strategies and other state policies not yet on the roadmap can reduce disparities in outcomes between racial and ethnic groups and improve equity in our states. We want to recognize all of the important and exciting work states are doing, and we encourage states to innovate and evaluate the policies they implement so that we can learn more about what works to improve the well-being of infants, toddlers, and their caregivers. We look forward to continuing to learn with you in the year ahead.
Thank you, Abby, out in California, for all the great work that you and your team does. Well, we are nearing the end of today's event, and I want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us and for all you do to support infants and toddlers and their caregivers. We're excited to share the new roadmap and that it's ready for you to use, and we hope that it proves to be a really valuable resource. My team and I are available to provide your state with any information that might be useful for you, and we would love to come and visit you and learn more about your state's goals and go through your roadmap data together. So please reach out to us. We also invite you to attend the 4 deep dive workshops that we're hosting throughout the fall that build on the information that we're providing here in the roadmap. Had we been able to host you in person, these would have been the plenary panels at the event, but instead we're hosting 4 separate events that we hope that you're going to be able to attend. You can sign up for them now if you scroll down to the links on the page you're watching, but we'll send out more information, I'm sure. On October 20th, we'll be joined by Don Moynihan and Pam Hurd to discuss how states can reduce administrative burdens to increase access to benefits among those who are eligible for them. Administrative burdens have huge implications for equity because they fall disproportionately on families of color. On November 3rd, we'll discuss how states are maximizing the use of Medicaid dollars to fund several of the effective roadmap strategies, including comprehensive screening and connection programs, group prenatal care, home visiting programs, and early intervention. Now, on November 10th, we'll discuss how the roadmap policies can promote greater equity in opportunities and outcomes in the prenatal to 3 period. And finally, on December 1st, we'll discuss the logistics of implementing a paid family leave program with regards to how to design and fund and administer it. It's possible that the federal government's actions will make some of this moot, but implementation will remain a challenge that states have to grapple with. And so we're going to begin that discussion. So I'd like to thank you again for joining us to learn more about how states are investing in the prenatal to 3 period to empower parents and to support children from the start. I have been incredibly impressed by the level of activity that we've seen in states this past year, and we're going to be tracking progress moving forward. There is still so much work to be done, however, but we have to celebrate the accomplishments that we've made. The pandemic has both exposed and exacerbated many of the challenges that families and providers in our systems experience. And I have been heartened to see folks coming together to try to address these immense challenges. I'd also like to thank the wonderful organizations that fund and support our work, including the Pritzker Children's Initiative, the Buffett Early Childhood Fund, the Ballmer Group, the Valhalla Foundation, the Klingenstein Philanthropies, and the Hemera Foundation. And also a special thanks to our National Advisory Council members whose guidance and feedback has been really invaluable to me and my whole team. Thank you also to our technical partners who have helped us with the website, the videos, and this production. Their skills and professionalism has really been wonderful. And finally, wow, thank you to my team. I am so grateful for your dedication and brilliance and hard work. And I'm excited for the work ahead of us. But for the next few days, you should take a well-deserved break. Thank you all again, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.